yeah, I think, or 5 weeks or something. I'm tonight. I thought rather than play music, I'm going to delve into sound, the sound that creates music. So I'm an instrument maker, and how did I become an instrument maker? I was never going to be an instrument maker. I was going to be a neurophysiologist. And I think I've gone into this a little bit when I was playing at the acoustic club at the end of last year. And what happened was I discovered a grove of bamboo. And I thought, I think I'll make a bamboo flute. So I cut a length of bamboo and I made a flute. Well, that was the end of the science degree because I fell in love with the whole art of making instruments. I made one bamboo flute, I made two, I made three, I made 10. I think I made maybe 200 or 300 bamboo flutes. And I dropped out of uni. I got so into making instruments that I started making wooden flutes. And I got so into making Renaissance flutes from the sort of 16th, 17th, 18th century, probably more sort of from the late 1600s, early 1700s. I decided to go to Europe and measure a whole lot of early instruments in museums. And what happened was I went to one particular museum in London, fell in love with a cast iron treadle lathe that was in a shop that was in Clerkenwell in the watchmakers area. It was advertised for 20 pounds, and I bought it. And I was backpacking with Janet, my girlfriend at the time, and we had backpacks, and suddenly I had this cast iron treadle. It was a old treadle lathe, so it's just like a treadle sewing machine. I just fell in love with it. So I set up a workshop in London. Anyway, I became an instrument maker. Only dawned on me probably about 6 months ago that I had this dream when I was a teenager that I still remember now, where I heard this instrument. It was a wind instrument, and it was sort of like love at first listen. I went, I have got to play that instrument. But then I woke up, and I can't actually even remember exactly what the sound was. I remembered it the next day and probably for a little while after. And it dawned on me about 6 months ago that maybe my whole life now I've been searching for that sound. And so at the moment I'm working on a solo show called Searching for That Sound. And that's what I'm dedicating a lot of my time to at the moment. So I thought I'd give you just a few little tasters from that performance that will be at the end of March. I'm going to launch it at the Maleny Players and also at the Cube in Gympie last weekend in March. But I'll just give you a few little things. And so I'm going to sort of jump sort of a third of the way into the show. And searching for that sound, well, another sound that I fell in love with, but I did know what it was and I did know what the sound was the taragotto. Who's heard of the taragotto? Taragotto. So even getting the correct pronunciation there. It's sort of like a wooden soprano saxophone, and it's a traditional Hungarian folk instrument. It's just got this gorgeous sound, and I really, really wanted to play one. And I wanted to actually develop another instrument that was sort of based on that instrument, but without all the keys, because it's got a lot of keys like the soprano sax, but I just wanted to have a wooden shell. But first of all, I needed to find a taragotto. I managed to import one from Romania, but it was rubbish, so that didn't last long. And then I was living in Perth. I was visiting my parents in Sydney, and there on the coffee table was a copy of the Trading Post. Did you have a Trading Post up here in Queensland? Yeah, okay. So the Trading Post, which pre-internet, it was sort of like the equivalent of Gumtree and eBay rolled into one. And I went straight to the instrument section, and there, right at the top, alphabetical order, ancient Hungarian shepherd's woodwind instrument. And I went, can it be a Tarragotto? Anyway, I rung the phone number, and there was at the other end of the phone, hello? I said, I'm just ringing about the instrument you have. Is it a Tarragotto? Yes. I said, is it... Boom, 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 boom. Is it still for sale? Yes. And only $145? Yes. Can I come and see it now? Yes. So I inquired, and it was an elderly woman who lived above a bar in King's Cross. And so I went to the Cross. I went into the bar, and I asked the guys there down the bottom. I said, I'm after. Well, she said her name is Stella. Oh yes, Stella. We'll give her a buzz, and she'll come down. So shortly later, a very old, probably as old as I am now when I think about it. Seemed really old then. I was sort of in my early 20s, I think. She came down carrying this very old case and came down. We went into one of the cubicles, opened, and there it was, the Tarragotto, and it's all its glory. And I said, could I play? Yes. So I put it together and I played it, and it was gorgeous. I couldn't believe that I'd found it. And she looked very sort of carefully at me and the instrument, and then she said, I do not think I can sell.
Oh.
Okay, it's your instrument. Well, why did you want to sell it? 2 years ago, I am playing Tarragotto and I have heart attack, and I'm scared now to play, but I cannot sell. I said, sure, I'm not going to press you. Could I have one more little play? Yes. So I had another play on the instrument, and beautiful instrument. She looked at me long and hard and she said, you play very beautiful. I sell to you. So this is not that instrument. But I have got that instrument, which will appear in the solo show. I didn't bring it along tonight because of time constraints. But that Tarragotto, it turned out, was made by a maker called Stolwasser, who is regarded as the great maker of Tarragottos. It was made in 1928. And then for the next 25 years, I then spent time developing different models of the keyless Tarragotto. This is an instrument which first I called Tarragottino, but eventually became called the Saxillo. So this is actually Mark 19 of, and it's made out of olive wood from a tree that I planted in Kin when we first moved onto our property in Kin many years ago, so about 30 years ago. So this is from one of those trees, olive trees. And I'd like to dedicate this to Stella. I kept in touch with Stella after I got the Tarragotto. That was actually her stage name, she said. When she was a teenager, she had a gig at as you do, the Budapest Town Hall. And she came off stage, and it turned out that she was told there are some American gentlemen that would like to talk to you. And they said, great concert, apparently. And we would like to bring you to New York, to America, to play with our orchestra. We want to do a Hungarian suite for Hungarian immigrants there. And so she went across and she played with that orchestra, which turned out to be the Glenn Miller Band.
Wow.
She fell in love with big band jazz. She went back to Budapest and she started Hungary's first ever big band. That was Stella, who was the owner of that Tarragotto. And so then over the next 25 years, I gradually developed instruments. So what I'm going to do tonight, no sort of fancy trills, or I'm just going to play the instrument. I'm asking you to listen to the sound. This is sort of close to the sound that I sort of, not in that dream perhaps, but that I sort of, one of the sounds that I fell in love with.